Hello, hello. Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Yep, I'm good. Okay, great. Hello? Hello. You can hear me now. I can see it. I know what I did. It's the new setup. There's always glitches. I'm just glad not a whole lot of people are watching right now. All this is just going to get edited out. Anyway, like I was saying before, it's been a pretty wild week in the world of D&D. Thank you, Patricia. I appreciate it. You know what? Patricia, this is long overdue. Patricia, since you're everywhere, and you're a big help to the community, and you're a big help here, and you've always been a great supporter, you are now a mod for my channel too, because nobody doesn't like you, and I appreciate having you around. Matt, you get to wait a little while. Anyway, it was a pretty big week in the world of D&D. I did give you a wrench. Everybody say hi to our newest wrench, Callisto, aka Patricia, aka the hardest working wrench in all of nerddom. Yeah, so D&D Live 2021 happened this week, and three of the biggest takeaways were the announcement of Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and the Magic the Gathering crossover book Strixhaven. We're going to talk about them tonight. We're going to take a look at a big reason why, even when I'm wrong, I'm right. And we're, also something else that happened this weekend was StellarCon, the first convention that me and my kids went to. And there, since this is a D&D and tabletop gaming channel, I found there's this really cool vendor there selling this awesome board game called Mixtape Massacre. Now, I'm not necessarily going to do an unboxing. Mom, if you knew what that meant, I'd give you one. Mom, wrench begging. Everybody say hi to my mom. Mom, everyone, mom. Yeah, so I picked up a board game called Mixtape Massacre. You get to play as an 80s serial killer. I'm not going to do a complete unboxing on this stream, but I did do a short little interview with the creators, and we're going to take a look. We're going to take a look at that video. So, the first thing I want to do, though, seeing as how this is kind of like the new stream, I want to give you guys a tour. So you saw the starting stream and the opening video, but there's going to be a lot of different things we can do with the stream as far as overlays go. What do you guys think of the new layout? Do you miss the old world feel and charm, or do you like the slick new look with the rolling D20? And I still think I'm going to bring back the old music though. And that's Marcus. Okay, buddy, I'm live. I'll be up in a couple minutes. Yeah, it's Marcus. Bedtime. So, anyway, I gotta throw it off a little bit. So, yeah. So, the first thing I'm going to do is we've got everything set up now. Our link tree is set up. Our Discord is up and running. So, I'm just going to, guys... I know Dad is always in demand. That's okay. I love it. I absolutely love it. So, let's go over here. I'm gonna have to do that for every time I switch. Thank you, Patricia, for the reason. I'm just gonna drop that out. So yes, I'm gonna have to change that audio setting every time I switch a window. Man, bumpy road today. But anyway, so we're actually gonna start. There's a D&D book I'm trying to get. So if anybody wants to donate to that cause. There's a link for the Vecna donations. There's a link to our Discord server here, our Twitter, and our merch/Streamlabs store. Yeah, if you want to buy merchandise, it's available. So I want to talk about channel subscriptions, just real quick. So we do subscriptions through Buy Me a Coffee. Since we're getting everything up and running, oh, thank you very much. Patricia says she loves the affiliate page. So if you guys want to become a member, you can do it. Right now, it's just going to be $1 a month. And what that's going to do is we're going to record coming up a lot of live plays and things that we're going to produce as shows, but aren't going to be sort of broadcast live. Like when we start Tan Theorem back up, we're going to record that in front of a studio audience. And then some of the other videos we're going to record in front of a studio audience, but obviously edit and then put out. So if you want to become a member, you can. It's $1. If you get in at $1, you stay at $1. Even if as we start adding some things in, you'll stay at $1 in perpetuity. But you'll get access to all those live streams to watch us goof around, playing D&D and recording things live. So you have all that stuff, access to all that stuff. Don't have to, but it's there if you want it. And then, of course, this is my favorite. This cool little merchandise store. Because I love me some me. I went ahead and got a couple shirts. So if you're interested in any shirts or any type of merchandise, it is there. All the links are in the link tree, and then of course links to all of our stuff is right there. So it's a nice tool to be able to have. I love me some link tree. So let's get back. Yeah, that's enough pimping the channel stuff right now. So let's get into the main part of main part of the show. So, out of the three, Strixhaven, Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. I am most excited for Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, because the fifth edition does not have a Dragonomicon. All right, Mom, take it easy. Head out. Sorry. I love dragons. I'm a huge fan of dragons. If anybody doesn't know, my favorite dragon is steel dragons, but I don't know if they're going to be represented in Fizban's. But I'm going to save the Fizban's talk for second to last. The first thing I want to take a look at is Wild Beyond the Witchlight. I don't know how many people out there are exactly what the Shadowfell is. Oh, hello, Russell. How are you? Russell is here. Russell is awesome. I think everybody here knows Russell, except for maybe my mom. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is Wild Beyond the Witchlight. It's D&D's first full-length adventure into the Feywild, and that is going to be released. Oops. I just clicked on the link for Tome of Annihilation. Nobody cares about Tome of Annihilation these days. So it's going to be released on the 21st of September, 2021. So I'm just going to read the synopsis here. It says, something wicked this way comes. A wicked, whimsical adventure for the world's greatest roleplay game. That's debatable these days, but we'll just let them roll with it. Once every 8 years, the fantastic Witchlight Carnival touches down on your world, bringing joy to one settlement after the next. Its owners, Mr. Witch and Mr. Light, haha, Witchlight, how cute, know how to put on a good show, but there is more to this magical extravaganza than meets the eye. The carnival is a gateway to the fantastic Feywild domain, unlike any other found on the material plane. Time has not been kind to this realm, however, and dark days lie ahead unless someone can thwart the dastardly schemes of the Hourglass Coven. The Wild Beyond the Witchlight takes adventurers from the Witchlight Carnival to Prismer, a Feywild domain of delight, and it is designed for characters level 1 through 8. This book comes with a poster map that shows the carnival on one side and Prismer on the other. Explore the plane of Fairy in this first official D&D adventure set primarily in the Feywild. The adventure begins on a campaign world map of the DM's choice, which means you can set it anywhere. Absolutely anywhere. The Witchlight Carnival, which serves as means by which the characters enter the Feywild, can be dropped easily into any campaign setting. That's because of those who may not know what the Feywild is basically an inverse of the material plane. So it's like, imagine if you have the material plane, the Feywild sort of sits up and to the left. It's the bright, colorful copy of the material plane, but all your fantastical creatures live there. I mean, more fantasticals than orcs and goblins and stuff like that, like magical, mystical stuff. And the Feywild is an exact copy almost of the material world, where if you find a river in the material plane, you'll usually find the same river in the Feywild. But let's just say that if the river was murky and muddy in the material plane, then when you get to the Feywild, it's pristine, clean, and beautiful. A mountain in the Feywild usually corresponds to a mountain in the material plane, so on and so on. You get the point. Usually what happens in the material plane affects the Feywild as well. Like, if you really want to anger or piss off a group of fairies, or something, could just cut down a huge section of trees in the material plane, and corresponding fairies are going to get pissed off and lure you into the Feywild with treats and probably have you running some crazy tasks that take years in the Feywild. Time also acts differently here in the Feywild. You can spend a year in the Feywild and come out, and only 5 days have passed in the material plane. Conversely, you could spend 5 days in the Feywild and come out, and over 5 years has passed in the material plane. It's real timey-wimey, wibbly-wommy stuff. So this also adds 2 new character backgrounds. The Feylost are characters who grew up in the Feywild, and the Witchlight Hand for characters who work with the Witchlight Carnival. So To answer your question, Callisto, has the Witchlight been established in the Forgotten Realms for a while? Not familiar with it? No. The Feywild has, but the Witchlight Carnival is a completely new creation for this adventure. Which is interesting. We'll talk in how this may tie into the Ravenloft setting. The Ravenloft book was released early this year, and I haven't gotten around to talking about it too much because I'm still trying to process how I feel about it. But there's actually a corresponding carnival in Ravenloft, and I'm curious to see if these two have any correlation. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. So it introduces two new races. You can play as a fairy or a Herongon, a race of humanoid rabbits. So you could literally recreate Alice in Wonderland. You could probably chase one of these Heragons down a hole somewhere and end up in the Feywild. Hello, Gray. Good to see you. All encounters in the adventure include a non-combat option, allowing players to think and roleplay their way out of an adventure if they wish. Classic 1980s Dungeons & Dragons character returns, including Warduke, Strongheart, and Kellic. And there's the alt cover to Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and then you can see some stills here from the carnival. So classic fairy stuff. What I find most interesting is right where it says all encounters in this adventure include a non-combat option, allowing players to think and roleplay their way through the adventure if they wish. So, that's combat is usually, to a certain extent, always been optional. I mean, you don't have to fight things. You can usually think your way out of it. But I think in this setting, more so than others, it's going to be less combat focused, which is cool. I mean, you could go through this whole thing thinking your way out of the carnival. I'm not exactly sure what the adventure in Witchlight is going to look like, but let's see. So yeah, so that's sort of the quick overview of Wild Beyond the Witchlight. It's going to give kind of a more fun take on the setting. I imagine it's going to be a lot more lighthearted, a lot more fanciful, let's say. What I'm curious about is if they're going to give us a bigger sense of the Feywild, or whether it's going to be sort of strictly based around this carnival. Yeah, so that's coming out on the September 21st, 2021. Yeah, for me, this is going to be a purchase. I think that I'm going to pick it up probably on Amazon. I don't think it's a full price purchase, but it's definitely going to be a purchase. Just because I'm a sucker for the ampersand. There's probably a lot more in-depth studies of the Feywild in other books that you can get, but I'm really curious about this. So that was the first big book. So on to the second book, The Mages of Strixhaven. Actually, let me go back. Here is the Dragon Plus issue number 38 just came out. If you guys aren't subscribed to Dragon Plus, it's Wizards of the Coast official D&D magazine. It took over for Dragon magazine back in the day. It's all digital. So this is from issue number 38. And in issue number 38, I'm just going to skip ahead here. They have an in the works section. So let's see. So this is some more information on Wild Beyond the Witchlight. So the Wild Beyond the Witchlight draws players into its adventure in two ways. A more traditional story hook, which Chris calls the Warlock's Quest, is available with characters helping someone in return for a reward. But the Lost Things story hook uses the idea that when their characters visited the Witchlight Carnival as children, something was taken from them. When that traveling show returns, they see this as a chance to get that lost item back. What that lost item might be, something immaterial like artistic creativity, or it could be something tangible like a beloved toy. They can either roll randomly to determine what they lost at the carnival or choose it during character creation. So Um, there's another picture of the Witchlight Carnival. So Chris Perkins goes on to say that in 2017 he was chatting with Patrick Rothfuss when it became clear that he was keen on his Fae themed stories. Um, I asked if he'd be interested in helping me flesh out this Feywild concept. The Witchlight Carnival came out of those discussions because the Feywild is a wacky place and creatures don't behave the way they behave in the material plane. We realized that before the characters get to the Feywild, it would be helpful if they understood the rules. A Fae-themed carnival that serves as a gateway would be a perfect place to school them. The party could explore that carnival as their first step and learn some Feywild's basic concept before they travel there. The quirky characters they meet will reflect in many ways the unusual characters they meet in the Feywild. And then he talks about the time we talked about that. So um, so here's some of the creatures that are going to be in with the carnival. Eldest sister Skabatha, also known as Granny Nightshade, is a recluse who lives mostly in her past. Her dwelling is an ancient forest. She passes time by making toys for children and is part of Toy herself. Woe betides adventurers if they wind up sticking out of her back runs down. Oh, if the wind up key sticking out her back runs down. Yeah. Stormy, what's up, buddy? How are you? Stormy's here. Another character is Balurnia Blightstraw. She's also known as Slack-Jawed Lorna. It's a toad-like hag who embodies the present. She can create miniature manifestations of herself, which run around her and perform odd tasks. My God, I would love that. Have a miniature me performing odd tasks. She exists in the here and now and doesn't dwell in the past or pay much mind of the future. She lives in the swamp settlement of Downfall among a court of bullywogs. The third hag is Endlin Moongrave, also known as Bitter End. Um, Endlin is a prognosticator who can see the future. That's completely different. um, she lives in a mountaintop theater where she has plays performed for her amusement. But she also wears a dress that can double as a theater contraption, so she can perform plays telling the future of those she meets. So those are the three hags of like the past, present, and the future. Captain Pennsylvania comes in and says the question is, how do we kill her? Brute strength and a blade. um, there are many more characters still to be introduced, with some sure to be fan favorites before the Feywild adventure is complete. They will often provide much needed support for the party and continue an education about the Fae that began in the Witchlight Carnival. One of the key things about this adventure is that the characters can, if they're clever and paying attention, complete the entire storyline without ever engaging in combat. I know Captain Pennsylvania's response to that would be like, why? Because not everybody likes to murder. I'm just saying. um, so, sorry, I lost myself. In order to pull that off, of course, we have to see the adventure with a bunch of characters like Sir Travalar and Jingle Jangle, Chris explains. Sir Talavar is a favorite of mine. He is knightly and gallant fairy dragon, while Jingle Jangle is a goblin key collector who wears a coat of keys. So there's a picture of those guys right there. So let's see. So yeah, um, I'm not gonna run through this whole thing, but like I said before, it's definitely a buy for me at probably half price, reduced price. I don't know that I'm gonna run it straight through. I personally never run, um, usually don't run pre-packaged adventures, but I'm certainly gonna steal what I can. Um, all right, so let's go on to the next one. You know what? I'm going to take a look at. Do you guys wanna look at Strixhaven next, or Fizban's Treasury of Dragons? I'm gonna get a sip of water while I let you guys decide where we go next. You get to decide our fate. Callisto asks, "Do you think the magazine would be good for someone who knows very little about D&D but has some exposure and interest in Forgotten Realms lore?" I think the magazine would be good for anybody who's interested in the game as a whole. Um, they don't delve into a whole lot of old lore, in the magazine. They just cover like new and upcoming things. They cover a lot of what's going on in the world of D&D, like events and tabletop games. But I definitely I definitely think it. I mean, it's free, so it's definitely worth subscribing to. Yeah, I it's yeah, it's definitely worth subscribing to, at least to stay up on like the newer stuff that's coming out. Um, I'm going to take a look at Fizban's Treasury of Dragons next because I gotta save Strixhaven and my thoughts on that for last. So next up on the list, and this has to be the one that I am most excited about. And this is going to tie into where I said, well, even when I'm wrong, I'm a little right. So, no, it says I'm always wrong. Fizban Treasury of Dragons. Now, in the olden days, they would have called this Dragonomicon. It's a collection of works, basically a complete understanding of dragons and what they are. And it says, you might think that the standard collective of nouns for dragons is either a flight of dragons, a wire of dragons, a school of dragons, a winged dragons. Well, Fizban the Fabulous has so much valuable information to share with you about these unique creatures that a treasury of dragons is the only description that properly captures it. Because once you measure the impact that dragons have had on D&D, you realize they touch every facet of the game. Now, dragons have always, I mean, they're in the name. Dragons have always had a huge impact on D&D. And a lot of people don't even realize how much they impact the land. But surprisingly, it wasn't until, me personally, it wasn't until I got older that I actually implemented them or understood to full effect how to integrate them into the game. I just used them when I was younger as like bags of hit points, except for steel dragons. But there's so much more than that. So it says Fizban's Treasury of Dragons is comparable to Volo's Guide to Monsters or Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. It brings together a combination of lore and monster material. The source books contains the revised Dragonborn races, feats, and spells that they previewed in the Unearthed Arcana, as well as magic items, a deeper dive into the monster manual, dragons, and dragon-adjacent monsters, layer maps, and various tables to help you generate adventure ideas. The major update of everything Draconic also includes the ideas that, we're going to get into this, dragons are creatures of the multiverse. James reveals that every dragon on the world material plane has echoes in other worlds. We're going to stop right there. I want you guys to actually listen to him talk about that. So I'm going to play a little clip from James Wyatt's interview for on D&D Live 2021. So let me know if you guys can hear this okay.
My hope is that a new player who reads through the book will fall in love with the unique and distinctive dragons of D&D, and then like have their minds exploded open to all the vast multiverse of possibility that D&D offers. That's really what I love about the book. It's like this giant collection of what if, and imagine this. So lots of pointers in all sorts of wild directions.
You mentioned just a second ago that the dragons will be having effects on the land around them and affecting things like physically. Based on Fizban's Treasury, dragons are both in and of the world of D&D. Can you tell us more about what that means and how that might manifest in a game scenario?
It was good to see you.
Sure. So there's this sort of key bit of mythology that runs through the book. Is the idea that dragons were part of the creation of the material plane itself. So their fundamental nature is part of the material plane. And the beauty of this story is that it explains what we already see in the game. It explains why dragons hoard treasure. It explains how their magic alters the world around their lairs with the regional effects that are right there in the monster manual. And it explains why ancient dragons are like the most powerful creatures that are native to the material plane. But then we're riffing on that idea through this book with the notion that every dragon has echoes across the material plane. So a dragon in the Forgotten Realms might have an echo in the world of Eberron or a Greyhawk. And these various echoes are sort of nebulously bound together by fate. So it's sort of this minor motif running through that if you want your D&D campaign to sort of open up to the vast possibility of the multiverse, all these many worlds, there are ways to highlight that throughout the tunnels of a dragon's lair.
Boom. For anybody who watched my video last week when before D&D Live came out, I name dropped the multiverse. I saw it coming. I knew it was going to happen. Um, but I didn't know they were going to do it. I jokingly said that perhaps we were going to get some sort of multiverse book. And dang nabbit, if we did not end up with them dropping the name multiverse 4 or 5 times in this interview, I'm going to do a video detailing how right I was, even when I was completely wrong. So, I just took a little, joy in seeing them immediately out of the gate talk about the multiverse. Callisto asks, wait, is this connected to Wild Beyond the Witchlight, or are they merely being released around the same time? They are just being released around the same time. They've got a book in September, October, and November. 3 separate books. This is just like a draconic bestiary. It's not actually connected in any way to Wild Beyond the Witchlight. This is actually coming out in October. Yep, is when this comes out. So, let's see. We want to inspire people to think about the action of a campaign as transcending a single world of the material plane. For example, when a dragon becomes a Dracolich, it has repercussions on all the echoes of that dragon. Dragons such as Cropenis or Asterinian, who were identified as dragon gods in past editions of the games, are now great worms who have transcended the limitations of a single world in the material plane, and they're united their energies across multiple worlds to become godlike. So it's basically like variants coming together. So the multiverse invades everything nowadays. You can't swing a stick without hitting the multiverse. So James was kind enough to take us through Fizban's Treasury of Dragons chapter by chapter, showing the phenomenal influence these characters have on Dungeons and Dragons. So I'm just gonna breeze over it real quick. Chapter 1 contains character options. Chapter 2 contains a handful of new spells, most of which they previewed in Unearthed Arcana, but it also contains new magic items. Cat in Pennsylvania, you say they could pop up in Mario? You bet it. Yoshi has an echo across the world to Tiamat. Yoshi is essentially Tiamat. You heard it here first. Chapter 3 is aimed at Dungeon Master, and it's all about building dragons as unique characters, both in terms of personality and mechanical tweaks. You'll learn how to build an encounter, an adventure, and an entire campaign around dragons. In Chapter 4, they focus on layers and hordes. The book embraces the D&D multiverse and talks about dragons as the quintessential creatures of the material plane. Bahamut and Tiamat created the material plane, so dragon's essence is fundamentally tied to it. That explains why when a dragon creates its lair, it becomes sort of a magical nexus, as the dragon's essence sweeps into the surrounding area and regional effects are created. Nexus. Dragons are nexus beings. It all comes back to Loki. Loki Gator. Loki Gator was a dragon. I'm sorry, I'm just too excited about this. Chapter 5 makes up a third of the book, and it takes an in-depth look at each kind of dragons. That is what I'm really excited to look at. Let's see, by highlighting dragons' personality traits, ideals, and any other creatures it might associate with them, they help you build a storyline around dragons. One of the guiding principles of this book is show, don't tell. We could simply tell you about the personality of brass dragons, but if we give you a bunch of tables that show their personality traits and put words into the brass dragon's mouth, that's more effective. That might include objects that the brass dragon has a relationship, or maybe it has conversations with a bust of a philosopher that it calls Leonard. Callisto asks, so you could bring in a dragon that's an ally to the players, or would it always be an enemy? It can most definitely be an ally to the players. Matter of fact, the biggest between chromatic dragons and metallic dragons is chromatic dragons usually tend to be evil, while metallic dragons tend to be good aligned. So you can, there's 3 main types of dragons that you're really going to find typically adventuring with humans. All metallic, first of all, let me say, all metallic dragons have, metallic? Yeah, McDonald's. All metallic dragons have the ability to polymorph into human form. So a lot of times you'll find silver dragons, brass dragons, or bronze dragons will tag along in human adventuring parties without the humans even knowing that they have a tag along. Brass dragons love to I think they love to hug the coast and follow around ships, and they'll sneak on ships and become part of a crew, just for the fun of it. Silver dragons are the most helpful to humans. They like to stay in their polymorph shape a lot, and will become a huge ally to human adventuring parties. But my favorite, I've said it before, is steel dragons, because they almost never come out of their polymorph, and they retain all their draconic abilities while still in their polymorph form. So, yes, most definitely, dragons can be allies to players, just as much and as often as they become adversaries. So, they also look at alignment, and this is this is what we just talked about. Look at alignment, for example. Chromatic dragons are typically evil. So can there ever be a good black dragon? The beauty of the word typically is that there's always a possibility. Each entry in this chapter starts with a table of personality traits and a table of ideas, and the final entry on the table of ideas is always something that's dramatically outside the norm from a dragon's alignment, and we wanted to make the point that typically does not always mean magically. Magically? Does not always mean always. Callisto asks again, and did I hear you say the dragon can choose a permanent form, or did I misunderstand? So, it's not that all dragons can choose like a permanent form. It's they all have the ability to polymorph, change their shape. Most of them just do it for a short period of time. There's one specific type of dragon called the steel dragon, and I'll send you a link to a video I did on it. They spend almost their entire life in that form because they want to really not pretend to be human. Like they honestly want to become immersed, and they want to become a human just to so they can log the experiences of a human. It's a long drawn out process, but for the most point, dragons don't stay in their human form for any longer than they actually have to or really want to, and then they'll polymorph back into dragon form. Um, Yep. So it's dragons are really really interesting that way. So chapter 6 is the bestiary chapter, and it makes up almost another third of the book. It's a revised version of the sapphire dragon is listed here alongside the rest of the gem dragon family. So finally in 5th edition we're going to get they're going to broaden the scope of the dragons that they have in the monster manual, because before this, they just had your base set of chromatic dragons and your base set of metallic dragons. There are so many different dragons out there through the years in D&D lore, and only a small sliver has been represented in 5th edition. Now, nothing's stopping you at any point in time from going and digging back through these older editions and bringing those dragons into your 5th edition game. It's just, depending on what edition you're getting them from, it takes a little bit more legwork, and they're a little harder to adapt just because the stat blocks are so different, and the way they calculated things like armor class and Thaco back in the day it just takes a little bit to do it. But you can always pull the lore from those older dragons and sort of take like a contemporary dragon, use their stat block, but I like to think those dragons still exist in D&D no matter what edition they're from. But it's easier for newer players who may not be exposed to the older lore or exposed to the older material to just pick up this book, and now you have gem dragons in there as well. And gem dragons consist of amethyst, crystal, emerald, and topaz. It also includes stats for deep dragons and moonstone dragons, as well as dragonborn champions, human dragon servitors, and various other dragon adjacent creatures. They also include stats for aspects of Bahamut and Tiamat. And they also, he says that he's had a fondness for dragon turtles, and we've included additional age character categories for those creatures. The dragon turtle in the monster manual breaks the pattern for size categories because it's one size larger than an adult dragon. We've decided that an adult dragon turtle and have created some younger versions scaled down from that, but the ancient dragon turtle is a monster. Dragon turtles are fun, man. Um, created a dragon turtle one time who had a small village on his back. But dragon turtles are just as deadly as regular dragons, but obviously they just inhabit the seas. So they've also included chromatic metallic dragons and gem versions of what they call great worm dragons. These creatures use the mythic monster rules from Mystic Odyssey of Theros to create epic battles, and the ancient dragon turtle is also in that category. So Fizban's Treasury Dragons comes out on the 21st, and it's available for pre-order at LGS. This is going to be day one full price purchase for me. I love dragons, and I cannot wait for this book to come out. So let's see if we can find any other additional information on Fizban. So I found a Reddit article, r/D&D Next, and this just gives us a breakdown of sort of what we went over, but it gives you it sort of lays it out a little bit better. Let's see layers. Let's see what we didn't come over. This is interesting because it gives information on the War of the Lance and background on information about Fizban. Now, Fizban is from the Dragonlance setting. The War of the Lance was the Draconic War that killed off all the dragons in Dragonlance. So, also in that video, when I'm right, when I'm wrong, I'm right, was that I thought it might have been, well, I didn't think it was going to have anything to do with Dragonlance, so I was wrong there. There is like a little bit of a tie-in to Dragonlance. But you can tell I haven't done this in a while. I'm actually starting to lose my voice. This is crazy. Let's see. New spells. We looked at that. Horde items. So, yep. So basically, there's nothing. There's not a lot of new information on this Reddit link that we didn't already cover. But worth mentioning, there's no mention of Unearthed Arcana's Draconic Options Cobalt race. So it was probably scrapped from when they did the Unearthed Arcana. So if you want to take a look back and just get a better idea of what might be in the book, you can take a look at the Unearthed Arcana as far as the different things you can do with your Draconic characters. So the last one we're going to take a look at, that's Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. So definitely super excited about that. So as the thumbnail says, if any of you were confused about it, it says Fae Folk and Co-eds and Dragons, oh my. So obviously we've covered the Fae Folk and we've covered the Dragons. Now we're going to go on to what, in my personal opinion, is one of the kind of like nails on chalkboard supplements for Dungeons and Dragons that I've seen in like forever. So let's take a look at Strixhaven. So what is Strixhaven, you ask, and why do I find it so nails on chalkboard? Well, first of all, Strixhaven is a Magic the Gathering setting. It won't just be Holophants packing their trunks and heading off to the Journey of Discovery this year. The next Magic the Gathering setting to join 5th edition is a D&D Arcane Center of Learning known as Strixhaven. What Strixhaven is a college for mages where you have 5 different houses. Each house is named after a particular dragon that founded it. The college are Lordhold College, Prismari College, Quandrix College, Silverquill College, and Witherbloom College. Now, you start off as a young mage student first year, and you enter these curriculums. So I'm going to try not to front load you guys too much. So I'm just kind of going to read from what it says here. Location. Because this school of mages has been drawn from the Magic the Gathering multiverse, one of the most important questions we had to answer is, where is Strixhaven? Since it's a standalone setting and almost all its adventures take place on campus, we wanted it to be easy to drop into any campaign. We were very careful to avoid any indications that Strixhaven exists in the Forgotten Realms or any other established D&D setting. Dungeon masters can decide where it fits into their world. Here's the first problem. It doesn't. It fits in Magic the Gathering. I can't, for the life of me, picture how traditionally wizards are learn magic in D&D. I don't see it at all fitting in the Forgotten Realms, so you can check that off. I don't see it fitting in Mystara or Dragonlance. It doesn't fit there. It doesn't really fit in Eberron. I doubt sincerely it fits in. I think I'm missing one here. I mentioned Dragonlance. Yeah. So I'm sorry, I'm blanking here. It definitely doesn't fit in Ravenloft. So, because of the way this is set up, it actually doesn't fit anywhere in the world of D&D. So there's the first thing that is wrong. So is Strixhaven a source book or adventure? It's both a source book and an adventure, similar to Mystic Odyssey of Theros and Guildmaker's Guide to Ravnica, with the key difference that we intended more adventure content in this book. It includes 4 chapters of adventure content, nearly 2/3 of the book, and these adventures are set nearly exclusively on campus of Strixhaven. So the adventures are set on campus. So you're catching now that it's starting to get the feel what this is sounding like. So this whole adventure takes place on campus, on a college campus. So this book also includes a gazetteer chapter detailing the way the university functions, as well as information on the 5 different colleges and their important players. There's a chapter of new rules to help make your player characters students who are tied to each of these schools of magic. Finally, there's a bestiary full of creatures that you'll encounter and around campus, with several stat blocks of professors from the colleges and even your fellow students. Each of the colleges bears the name of the elder dragon who founded it, with every college striving to match its founder's vision and magical aptitudes. Now, if anybody knows about the School of Magics, Vancia Magic, that are already established in D&D, see if this fits any of them. So, Lorehold College motto: "Leave no stone unturned." For some students, the past is rich tapestry worthy of disciplined studies. Others wear that tapestry like a cape as they jump down into a forgotten tomb. Loreholds are diligent researchers, daring adventurers. They're passionate scholars obsessed with history and understanding of what whims of time itself, exploring the past by poring over archaeological artifacts and conversing with ancient spirits. Prismari College: express yourself with the elements. At the world stage, and whether their art is informed by mind or emotion, Prismari always leave a lasting impression. Dedicated to the visual and performing arts and use magic to express themselves. Prismari spells can be spectacles of raw elemental creativity or meticulous artistic endeavors. Quandrix College motto: "Math is magic." Quandrix mages are ingenious mathematicians. They'll solve a puzzle cube while contemplating the metaphysical properties of the universe. They dedicate their lives to the study and manipulation of nature's core mathematic principles, using patterns, fractals, and symmetries to command power over the fundamental forces of nature. Silverquill College motto: "Sharp style, sharper wit." Stylish, intimidating, and tirelessly competitive, Silverquill mages are born leaders with razor-sharp wit and natural charisma that can be used for good or ill. Silverquills wield the magic of the sword of words, using encouraging speeches and inspiring battle poetry to lift allies, while deriding foes with arcane insults and piercing banter. Now, that sounds a lot like bards. Witherbloom College motto: "Get your hands dirty." Witherbloom mages are most at home riding zombie crocs, picking herbs for potions, and hanging out in their swamps making grim jokes. They draw their power from the essence of living beings, harnessing devastating energies of alchemy of life and death, whether that means enhancing nature or exploiting it. The types of magic practiced with those colleges are so specific, recognizable as what college student is from. There won't be personality traits tied to specific colleges. If you're a student from Prismari, You won't need to be brash and spur of the moment. We want players to be able to develop their own personalities for D&D characters. So, my issue with this is those 5 colleges do not fit with the way wizards are set up in D&D. It's set up with very much stylistically what's in Magic the Gathering. I don't have a problem with this stuff necessarily, only that I think it's extremely off-brand for D&D. It's very specific to the world of Magic the Gathering, so I think it's very like square peggy in round hole for Dungeons and Dragons, just as like a concept. Just as far as the Magic School concepts goes, it's like you're trying to force something in there that doesn't fit just to call it Dungeons and Dragons. In as much as when the Unearthed Arcana first came out, they created entire different non-character class specific subclasses that you had to use to replace subclasses that existed in Dungeons and Dragons just to get these different colleges to fit with character creation process. Like, it didn't work as it was, that they actually had to go out of their way to create non-class specific subclasses. There was so much pushback on it that they nixed that idea, and now going to these different school of magics just give you a bonus feat. So already this just seems like window dressing more than any type of like serious character boons. It's already not fitting. But I mean, it just doesn't work. There are also pretty strict rules on what is and isn't allowed at Strixhaven. For example, Witherboom College might be associated with plant growth, druidic themes, and have some necromancy thrown in, but no magic that is considered inherently evil is taught at Strixhaven. That informs the adventure because the main villain might be someone who was expelled many years ago for doing something they were not supposed to. Is this sounding like Harry Potter to anybody but me? Could be wrong. So, the 4 adventures within Strixhaven, a curriculum of chaos, are structured in an innovative way. Each individual chapter is a standalone adventure based around a year of college life. You can create a character who's a first-year student and play through the entire campaign with the 4 adventures all linked together, or you make a second-year and third-year student, for example, and play through the adventure for that particular year. We also made sure the adventures provide a breadth of experiences. Of course, we can lean into young adult tropes associated with being at school. There's a Pitch Perfect style sing-off competition at one point. But it's always with the D&D twist. Okay. Again, extremely off-brand for Dungeons and Dragons. Like, I'm not calling it inherently bad. No idea and playstyle is a bad idea, but it's just completely off-brand. It doesn't fit into Forgotten Realms. I can't imagine somebody at Candlekeep having a Pitch Perfect style sing-along. I don't think Elminster had like a sing-along with his professors, or like went to like this structured college. Like Wizards and D&D, I just don't see going through this type of curriculum to become a mage. So it just doesn't seem to fit. I'm not saying it's a bad gameplay style. I wish, well, we'll come back to this in a second. Okay. There's lots of traditional D&D content in here as well. You're fighting monsters, overcoming obstacles, and solving mysteries, but in a different environment. For example, one campus adventure is essentially a dungeon crawl that's been mapped to this world. Hopefully, it'll make for a fun change for both players and DM. Each year is structured into academic terms, including encounters that give you the feel of being a student on campus, and exams to test your knowledge in a specific subject. For those who want to lean into this aspect of student life, we provide rules that allow you to study for and take exams with your fellow adventurers. If you do well on an exam, you'll gain an extra exam die for your rolls during the adventure. It's a simple rule system. Having passed your exam gives you a boost, then roll a d6 and add that skill check you're making. It's a nice, nice reward that adds extra favor if you decide to bring that element into the game. Okay. Okay. To further help players lean into campus life, we offer provide To further help players lean into campus life, we also provide rules for taking part in extracurriculars. It's very different to anything we've done before, which is really exciting, and it's flavored to bring the university experience to Dungeons and Dragons. The extracurricular rules allows a character to join up into two clubs or hold down a job as a member of one club. You might be a member of a Mage Tower team, which is one of the main campus sports. There's also a cheer squad for the Mage Tower so you can join. Other clubs include Iron Lifter Society for gym rats, a show band association for the band kids, and the Play Actors Guild for the drama kids. Okay. Again, not bad on its own. If it's a Magic the Gathering role playing game, but I don't think you can put the name D&D on it. I know, like, who's to say what D&D is and what D&D isn't? I get it, and it's different for everybody's table. But at Wizards of the Coast, like, how do you greenlight this and try to sell this to your regular core D&D fans, and say that you can drop this into any D&D setting? That's where I take umbrage with this. This doesn't fit into any D&D settings. This is specific to this style of play. You can't drop this anywhere. Our new relationship system provides backstories and personalities for 18 of your fellow students and helps make adventures very player focused. Depending on how robustly they want to use the system, DMs can run an introductory session 0 to introduce the NPCs to the player characters, or they can allow them to be introduced organically as part of the adventures. The adventures heavily incorporate those NPCs down to players encountering certain individuals who are part of the same club or work at the same job based on their personalities. Players can access NPC student life profile and discover which college they're in, their spaces, their gender and pronouns, as well as learning more about who they are as a person. They can interact with these NPCs in specific social encounters, which usually happens as part of a group event. When the players need to decide how it is they want to participate, do they want to observe? Is it someone they're interested in watching an event with? And so, how badly would like to interact with them? Will this be more of a positive interaction of form part of a rivalry with this person? Sorry, my mouth's getting dry. The options they choose build points, and once those points hit a threshold, they either become friends with the NPC, and the NPC provides a mechanical benefit, or they're now rivals who mess with them. So basically, there's a frenemy system in this setting. Another part of the relationship subsystem allows for deeper connections. One or more characters can be your beloved, which might be your best friend, a sibling, or a romantic relationship. Those deeper connections also provide a specific benefit too. There are even optional rules in the system for a rival eventually becoming your beloved, which we hope provides a lot of fun and nuances to the rules. When we ask for players' feedback in this adventure, their responses often include statements such as, "This monster needs to be harder to defeat," or "We don't know how to access that area." The feedback on Strixhaven was that everybody loved Greta, Thigh Biter, a super friendly, iron lifting dwarf with a gap in her teeth, and everybody in the party fought over getting her to like them the most. When that's happening, her job is done. So, I find this completely off brand for D&D. As always, I think this is another example of why Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons as settings, as brands, I should say it as brands do not mix together. You cannot take Magic the Gathering content and port it directly into a Dungeons and Dragons world. The brands, I'm talking brands here, they have completely different feels and different expectations. When you pick up a book with the red ampersand on it, you expect a certain level of fantasy, high fantasy. You don't expect to pick up a college life simulator ripped out of modern day, which is basically what Strixhaven is. Strixhaven is a college life simulator with some magic thrown in. You're creating frenemies, for crying out loud, and it's fine as its own thing. I'm not telling you I'm not trying to tell you not to play it or it's stupid. I'm just saying that it's ridiculous to try to release it as a Dungeons and Dragons book, because it's just completely off brand. trying not to rip into it as much as I could because I really, really, really don't like Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons, and I want to save most of my vitriol for when I can like really dig in and try to be concise about what I'm trying to say. Because again, if this is exciting to you and you're happy about it, great. You know, I'm not one of those people that says you can't like it. I just, for me personally, and you're here, and this is my channel. If you're watching, I'm going to give you my personal opinion. I think it's kind of ridiculous, just as a concept. I don't think the Wizard School itself is ridiculous. I just think this particular concept is a little cringy. Is a lot cringy. I could see this being released as like a D&D YA book, some sort of youth book. It just seems, and maybe that's what they're trying to do. Maybe they're trying to cater to a younger audience, and God bless them. If it sells, fine. And I know I don't have to buy it, and I'm not going to. This is a not buy for me, but it just makes me curious about the decision-making process, and with there being so many other things that they could spend time or resources on for Dungeons and Dragons, it always confounds me why they choose to release Magic the Gathering content under the brand label of D&D, when all you have to do, if you have faith in Magic the Gathering products and you have faith in that as a setting, why don't you develop your very own Magic the Gathering tabletop role-playing game? Create your very own Magic the Gathering setting, release it under its own thing, have its own set of rules, its own setting books, its own team of writers and producers. If you're that confident that there's that many people that want to play in those worlds in that way, then release it as its own setting book, because it deserves it, frankly. That's the other thing. Like, how gypped do these Magic the Gathering players feel that they want to roleplay this stuff, but they have to come over to a completely different setting that they may not be interested in? Like, they're not getting a Magic the Gathering player's guide, and then they get a Strixhaven book. They have to go through the world of D&D to access the world of Magic the Gathering as role-playing, and that's something that's not right. And I'd like to talk to some people who are into Magic the Gathering, who to see how they feel about that, because I think both brands kind of suffer from this cross-pollination, and I won't be disappointed if they never make another Magic the Gathering and D&D crossover in my life. I really won't. Strixhaven is definitely a not purchase for me, but if you love it, you like it, and you're interested in it, then oh, hey, you're still here. Yeah, I am. If you like it and you're interested in it and you want to buy it, have at it. Who am I to tell you? But I definitely will not be. So, well, we've been about an hour in. I'm gonna show you guys one last thing. Great. Russell says he's playing Magic with Steve this weekend. Great, have fun. Magic the Gathering, the card game, is fun to play. It's just Uno for geeks. But I'm going to end with one last thing. We attended StellarCon over the weekend, and I showed you this at the beginning. Yeah, you missed the salt. This is a board game called Mixtape Massacre, where you get to play as a killer in an 80s camp environment. It looked really fantastic. I'm going to do a separate unboxing video and a play video, but this is going to be my first foray into the world of actually the tabletop gaming area of the channel. So we're going to take a look at a video where I did a short interview with the guy who made it. And I'm going to let him explain the game better than I could. So we'll take a look at this, and this is going to be after the evening. Let's see. So this is the creator of Mixtape Massacre, and I'll let him sort of explain the game and the pieces and how it works. Let me know. There's going to be a lot of background noise because I shot it in a big theater. But let's take a look.
All right, so it's called Mixtape Massacre. What you do is you play slashers. And what you're trying to do is get to the different locations on the board. And each one of those locations will open up a scene from this deck. Those scenes give you a chance to either attack or defend. And so as you start to make attacks, you're going to start collecting pieces.
Okay. Was it like body parts or?
Yeah,
oh, nice.
So you want to get to a certain amount of souvenirs to win the game, or you want to take out everyone else that's playing the game.
Oh, really? Careful, don't touch.
Lives keep track of your health while you play. Each character has an ability they can use once per game. 2 to 6 players, usually 30 minutes to an hour and a half per game. Tons of replayability, and because it's been out 6 years, we have a slew of expansions to like extend the game and add new game modes and mechanics. Also, if you have Spotify, there's actually 80s playlist that'll go with the game to soundtrack it. And the cool thing is we also have a sequel called Escape. In Escape, you play as the kids. You're basically trying to escape the town, but you have to solve a certain amount of tasks to get out, and you avoid trying to be hunted by the killers.
Oh, that's cool. This is neat. How much is the starter set?
So, this game's 40, this game's 50. There's a bundle for both for 85, and then all expansions are 25.
That's actually kind of right up my alley. I would.
That's just a card to tell you who we are.
Yeah, so that's it. So the Mixtape Massacre, I'm going to be doing a I'll be doing an unboxing video for that, and then we'll be doing shooting some sample rounds as a family, and yeah, I'll let you guys know my thoughts and experiences with that when we get into it. But all right, guys, that's it for me this evening. Hey, maybe I'll be taking a road trip at some point. Maybe I'll bring it on a bus up with me. Maybe I can interest some friends into playing it when I'm up in Connecticut. I'm looking at you. Looking at you, too. Captain Pennsylvania and Wu-Tang Wells. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for me this evening. Thank you for coming and spending some time with me on the first Rocky relaunch of the show. I hope you all enjoyed the new aesthetics, the newness of the channel, with the same old D&D flair and mishaps. I will be bringing back the old music because as much as I liked the new stuff, it's just not the same. Definitely not the same. Cap's fun. But anyways, I'd like to say thank you guys for coming and hanging out. I'll see you guys next Thursday. Be on the lookout for some videos this upcoming week. The third-ish episode of Fan Theorem coming up. And remember, in the game of life, may you always roll with advantage. And I'll see you guys in the next live stream. Take care, you all.